5 years had passed since humans left the Galactic Council. What once seemed like a disaster had slowly turned into something new and hopeful. Today was the official opening of the Galactic Network. Unlike the old council with its grand chamber on a central world, the network existed everywhere at once. Thousands of communication hubs on planets across the galaxy connected all species directly. Admiral Jun Kim, now with gray hair and more lines on his face, stood in Earth's main hub. Large screens showed similar rooms on 100 different worlds. Each room was filled with representatives from local planets. It worked, Mina Park said quietly beside him. Not as we planned, but it worked. June nodded. The journey had been harder and longer than anyone expected. There had been more fighting, more suffering, more doubt. But now, a new era was beginning. On the main screen, representatives from the first 100-member worlds prepared to activate the network. Each species had equal standing. Each world had direct input on decisions that would affect them. At exactly the planned time, they all pressed their activation controls. Across the galaxy, the most advanced communication system ever built came online. For the first time, all member worlds could speak directly to each other without delay or control. A cheer went up from every hub. Even species that had been fighting each other years ago now celebrated together. Commander Hannah Lee, promoted after her brave rescue missions during the conflicts, watched from her position overseeing security for the new network. Her ship, now much larger than the old Pathfinder, orbited Earth as part of the defense fleet. "Any problems to report?" she asked her team. "None, Commander. All systems functioning perfectly." Hannah smiled. She had seen the worst of the chaos after humans left the Council. She had broken rules to save lives when the fighting was at its worst. Now she was helping protect the peace that had slowly grown from those dark times. "Let's keep it that way," she said. Jin Kim had become a key architect of the network's information systems. Her office overlooked the main hub where representatives from across the galaxy were now speaking freely with each other. "The true test begins now," she told her team. "The technology works. Now we need to see if different species can actually work together without someone forcing them." A junior analyst asked, "Do you think it will last?" The old council stood for 1,000 years. Jin considered this. The council lasted because it forced cooperation through control. The network must survive through real cooperation, or it will fail. But I believe it can work. We have all seen what happens when we don't work together. As the celebration continued, Admiral Kim and Ambassador Park found a quiet moment to talk. "Do you remember that day in the council chamber?" Mina asked. "When you returned our key and we walked out?" June nodded. "I was terrified. We all were. We knew what might happen, but we had no choice. And now look at what has grown from that moment," Mina said. "No species rules over another. No world stands alone. True cooperation. With many hard lessons along the way," June added quietly. They both knew the cost had been high. Planets had suffered. People had died. The galaxy had nearly torn itself apart. Even now, not all species had joined the network. Some remained suspicious, watching from a distance. But a new path had been opened. Humans had changed the galaxy forever, not by conquering or controlling, but by offering a better way. As the activation ceremony ended, the representatives began their first real work together. Humans were just one voice among many, exactly as they had planned. Outside the hub's windows, Earth's sky was filled with ships from dozens of worlds. Where once there had been borders and restrictions, now there was free movement and trade. The old Galactic Council was gone. The chaos that followed had tested everyone. And now, from that difficult time, a new beginning had emerged. The universe would never be the same again. The first major battle between the Valkorians and Praxians lit up space around the planet Nexus 7. Once a busy trading hub managed by humans, the planet now controlled key resource routes that both sides wanted. Captain Yun Choi watched the battle from her hidden ship just outside the system. Her small vessel, The Mercy was designed for stealth and rescue, not fighting. Count is now 12 Velkorian warships against 9 Praxian cruisers, her sensor officer reported. The Praxians are losing. Ion nodded grimly. Any civilian ships in the combat zone. 3 transport vessels trying to flee the planet. The Velkorians are ignoring them, but they're in the line of fire. Ion made her decision quickly. Move us in. Stealth systems at maximum. We'll guide those transports to safety. Her crew looked nervous but followed orders. The Mercy slipped closer to the battle, its advanced human technology keeping it hidden from both fighting forces. Officially, Ion's mission didn't exist. Admiral Kim had ordered no direct intervention, but a small group within Earth's leadership had secretly authorized rescue missions. They couldn't stop the fighting, but they could save innocent lives. On Earth, Admiral Jung Kim reviewed the latest reports with growing concern. The war has spread to 3 more systems, his aide said. The Council peacekeeping fleet tried to intervene but was driven off. They simply don't have enough ships without the human vessels. June closed his eyes briefly. The plan was working too well. They had wanted to show the Council that humans were valuable, not destroy the peace completely. What about the smaller species caught in the middle? He asked. Many are fleeing to neutral zones. Some have requested asylum in human space. This was unexpected. The plan hadn't accounted for refugees seeking human protection. Tell Ambassador Park to handle these requests, Jung said. We can accept limited numbers, but quietly. We can't appear to be taking sides. In a secret meeting room, diplomat Taeyong sat across from representatives of 3 small alien species. All looked tired and worried. My people control key medical facilities in Praxian space, said one, a small green-skinned alien. The Velkorians will target us next. We need safe passage through human territory. My world sits on a valuable fuel mining route, said another. We've already received threats from both sides. We cannot defend ourselves. Taeyong nodded sympathetically. Earth will consider your requests for protection. But you understand our position is complex. You mean you don't want to get involved? The third alien said bitterly. You humans left the Council, and now watch as we suffer. Taeyong couldn't deny it. That was essentially the human strategy. Withdraw, and let the Council realize their value. But he hadn't expected so much suffering so quickly. I will take your cases directly to our leadership, he promised. In the meantime, we can offer emergency supplies and medical aid. It wasn't enough, and everyone in the room knew it. Lieutenant Hannah Lee stood before Admiral Kim, her back straight despite her fear. She had disobeyed direct orders by rescuing the refugee transport. You risked exposing our operations, Admiral Kim said coldly. You could have drawn humans into the conflict. There were 3,000 civilians on that transport, sir, Hannah replied. They would have died. And how many more will die in this war? We cannot save everyone. No, sir, but we saved those 3,000. Admiral Kim was silent for a long moment. Then, to Hannah's surprise, he nodded slightly. Return to your ship, Lieutenant. Continue your observation mission, and use your judgment if similar situations arise. Unofficially, Hannah understood. The Admiral couldn't openly approve rescue missions, but he wouldn't stop them either. As the first major conflict spread across Council space, humanity watched from the shadows. Some, like Ian and Hannah, secretly helped where they could. Others, like Admiral Kim, focused on the larger plan. But everyone could see that the galaxy was changing faster than anyone had predicted. The Council, which had stood for 1,000 years, was failing its first real test without human support. And somewhere in the chaos, a new future was taking shape, one that would either bring a better galaxy or destroy everything the Council had built. 6 months after humans left, the Galactic Council was falling apart. Old enemies were starting to fight again. Small species were making desperate alliances. Where once there was order, now there was fear. General Suho Park stood in Earth's main defense center, watching the giant screen that showed the galaxy. Red dots marked trouble spots. There were many red dots now. "The Velkorians have moved warships to the border with Praxian space," said a young officer. "We think they will attack soon." Suho frowned. The Velkorians and Praxians had been enemies for thousands of years before the Council forced peace between them. Now that peace was breaking. And here, the officer continued, pointing to another part of the map. 3 smaller species have formed a defense pact. They're afraid of being taken over. Suho nodded. It was happening just as they had predicted. Without humans to help keep the peace, old hatreds were returning. "Is Admiral Kim aware of these developments?" he asked. "Yes, sir. He says to continue monitoring, but take no action." Suho wasn't sure that was the right choice, but he had his orders. In a small dark room, analyst Jin Kim studied reports from across the galaxy. Her job was to find patterns in the chaos. What she saw worried her. "Admiral," she said when Jun Kim entered the room, 3 major species are preparing for war." She showed him the evidence. Ship movements, weapon production, troop deployments. All the signs were there. "The Council hasn't seen a major war in 1,000 years, she added. "Their peacekeeping fleet isn't ready for this." "And 1/3 of that fleet was human ships," Admiral Kim said quietly. Jin nodded. "Without our ships, the Council cannot stop these conflicts." Admiral Kim studied the data for a long time. "Our predictions said we would have more time before major warfare broke out. This is happening too fast." "Should we intervene?" Jin asked. "No, not yet." Jun's face was grim. "The plan requires us to let events unfold. But alert our border patrols. I want no fighting near human space." Ambassador Park was having a heated argument with Admiral Kim in his office. "We need to help with humanitarian aid at least," she insisted. "There are refugees fleeing these conflict zones. Innocent people are suffering." "Any intervention now could disrupt the plan," Jun replied. "We must let the Council species learn that they cannot function without cooperation." "At what cost?" Minna demanded. "How many lives is this lesson worth?" Before Jun could answer, an aide rushed in. "Sir, the Velkorians have attacked 3 Praxian worlds. The Council has called an emergency session, but half the members didn't attend." Jun and Minna exchanged worried looks. Things were moving faster than anyone had expected. "Prepare a statement," Jun told Minna. "Make it clear that humans will not take sides in any conflict, but we are concerned about civilian casualties." After Minna left, Jun stared out the window at the peaceful Earth sky. The plan had been to create enough pressure to force the Council to accept humans as equals. But now there might not be a Council left to rejoin. On a small moon near Praxian space, Lieutenant Hannah Lee received an urgent message. Her ship, the Pathfinder, was the closest human vessel to the new conflict zone. "Be advised," said the message, "a refugee transport with 3,000 civilians is under attack. Council peacekeepers cannot reach them in time." Hannah bit her lip. Her orders were clear. Observe but do not engage. Stay hidden. But 3,000 civilians. "Helm, set course to intercept that transport," she ordered suddenly. "Weapons, prepare defensive systems only." Her second officer looked alarmed. "Lieutenant, our orders." "I know our orders," Hannah said firmly. "But I also know right from wrong. We're going to help those refugees. I'll face the consequences later." As the Pathfinder jumped toward danger, Hannah knew she might be risking her career. But as the power vacuum grew and more fighting broke out, someone had to take a stand. The galaxy was falling into chaos, and watching from the sidelines was becoming harder with each passing day. 8 months after humans left, the Galactic Council held what would be its final meeting. Only half of the member species sent representatives. The Grand Chamber felt empty and cold. Sorlet, the council speaker, looked tired. His blue skin had turned pale gray from stress. "This emergency session will now begin," he announced. But even as he spoke, arguments broke out among the delegates. "The Velkorians have taken 3 of our colony worlds." shouted the Praxian ambassador. "Your people attacked our supply lines first." The Velkorian representative fired back. Sorlat banged his gavel for order. "Please, we must work together, or everything will be lost." But it was too late. The fighting in the chamber reflected the fighting across the galaxy. Without humans to help keep the peace, old hatreds had returned stronger than ever. "I move that we officially dissolve the council," said an elder representative from one of the founding species. "It no longer serves its purpose." The vote was quick and final. After 1,000 years, the Galactic Council was no more. On Earth, news of the Council's dissolution spread quickly. Outside government buildings, crowds gathered in protest. "We caused this," shouted one protester. "We need to help fix it." Engineer Dayun stood at the edge of the crowd. Just months ago, he had worked eagerly on secret technologies for humanity's independence. Now he felt only shame. He approached the main government building and handed his ID to the guards. "I'm here to resign my position," he told the secretary inside. "I can't be part of this anymore." Day wasn't alone. Many humans felt guilty about the chaos spreading across the galaxy. They had wanted respect, not destruction. Ambassador Minapark faced angry questions from reporters in a packed press room. Was this the plan all along? One asked. To destroy the council completely? Absolutely not, Mina insisted. We expected the council to realize our value and offer better terms. We did not anticipate a full collapse or the outbreak of multiple wars. Then why don't we help now? Another reporter demanded. Mina had no good answer. The truth was complicated. Some in Earth's leadership, including Admiral Kim, still believed they needed to wait longer before intervening. After the press conference, Mina went straight to Admiral Kim's office. "The public is turning against us," she told him. "And they're right. We've gone too far." June looked older than he had 8 months ago. The weight of the galaxy's suffering clearly troubled him. "I know," he admitted, "but we can't simply return to the old system. We need something better." "Then let's build something better," Mina urged. "But first, we need to stop the fighting." The Galactic Communication Network, once maintained by human technicians, was breaking down. Systems that had connected the thousands of worlds in Council space now worked only in patches. In his monitoring station, Jin Kim tracked the failing network with concern. "We're losing our ability to even see what's happening out there," she reported to General Suho. "Whole sectors are going dark." Suho studied the data grimly. "If we can't communicate with these worlds, we can't help them even if we decide to intervene." Jin hesitated, then said, "Sir, there is something else. Some human ships have been operating unauthorized rescue missions in conflict zones." Suho raised an eyebrow. "Under whose authority?" "None, sir. They're acting on their own." Suho almost smiled. Good for them. That night, Admiral Kim called an emergency meeting of Earth's leadership. The large conference room was tense as he stood to speak. "Our plan has failed," he said simply. "We wanted to force the Council to respect us. Instead, we have broken the galaxy. Now we must fix it." "How?" asked one official. "The Council is gone. War is spreading. Communications are failing." Admiral Kim looked to Ambassador Park, who stepped forward. "We have been developing a new plan," she said. "One that will require everything we have. But first, we need to reveal the truth." "What truth?" several voices asked. Mina took a deep breath. "The truth about why we really left the Council, and what we've been building in secret all these years." The room fell silent as she began to explain. 1 year after leaving the Council, human ships appeared across the galaxy. They did not come as conquerors. They came as helpers. Ambassador Mina Park led the first diplomatic team to arrive at Nexus 7, once a busy trade hub, now a battlefield. Her ship broadcasted a simple message on all channels. "We come with aid and a proposal for peace. We invite all species to hear us." The fighting paused as curious leaders from both sides agreed to meet. They were surprised to see humans again after so long. "You abandoned us," said the Valkorian commander bitterly. "Now you return when everything is broken." Mina did not argue. "We made mistakes. Now we offer a way forward." She explained the network democracy and showed them the new technologies humans had developed. Most importantly, she showed them the new communication system that would link all worlds equally. "There will be no more council telling you what to do," she said. "Each world will have a voice. Decisions will require broad agreement, not just the votes of the powerful." The leaders were suspicious but also desperate. After a year of war and collapse, they needed solutions. "We will consider your proposal," they finally agreed. It was a small victory, but an important one. Across the galaxy, similar meetings took place. Admiral Kim's fleet established safe corridors for refugees and trade. Captain Un's team delivered medical supplies to worlds in need. Human engineers helped repair critical systems that had failed. The young diplomat Su Min traveled to dozens of worlds with Junho's team. Some welcomed her warmly. Others met her with anger and suspicion. On the Praxian colony world of Kelter, the local governor refused to even meet with her. "Humans caused this disaster," he told her through a message screen. "Why should we trust you now?" Su Min replied calmly, "Because we are not asking you to trust us. We are offering you tools to ensure you never need to trust anyone again." She showed him the network democracy system, how it would give his world direct input into all decisions affecting them. "The old council spoke of peace but ruled through control," she explained. "We offer true cooperation where no species can dominate another." After hours of discussion, the governor agreed to listen to more. Day by day, world by world, humanity's proposal spread. Engineer Dao Yun, who had resigned in protest months earlier, now found himself leading a team restoring power systems on a small world near the conflict zone. He worked alongside alien engineers who had once seen humans as inferior. "This technology is remarkable," said one alien engineer as they activated a new power core. "Why did the council never allow this?" "Because it would have given too much independence to smaller worlds," Dad explained. "The council wanted dependence, not cooperation." As they worked, the alien engineer asked, "Did humans plan all this?" The collapse of the council. Day shook his head. "We planned to leave and offer an alternative. We didn't expect such chaos so quickly." "But you're using the chaos to spread your new system," the alien observed. Day couldn't deny it. "Yes, sometimes you need to break something to rebuild it better." On Earth, Admiral Kim received daily reports from across the galaxy. Progress was slow but steady. More worlds were joining the network each day. The fighting had decreased as more species became interested in the human proposal. "It might actually work," he told Mina during a rare quiet moment. "If we can get enough worlds to join, the others will follow." Mina nodded. "The smaller species are joining quickly. They never had real power in the council. Now they see a chance for true equality." "And the major powers? Still hesitant," she admitted. "But they're talking instead of fighting. That's progress." The path ahead was still long and difficult. Many worlds remained suspicious of humans and their motives. The scars of the council's collapse would take time to heal. But for the first time in a year, there was hope spreading across the stars. Humanity had returned, not to rule, but to offer a new beginning. 3 months passed since humans left the council. At first, nothing seemed to change. The council met as usual. Trade continued. Many alien species even celebrated the human departure. "Good riddance," said the Valkorian ambassador. Humans were always troublemakers. But then small problems began to appear. On the mining world of Keltis IV, some men stood on a hill watching alien workers struggle with heavy machinery. He wore plain clothes to blend in, but he was there to observe. As one of many human watchers left behind, his job was to report what happened after humans left. The big mining machines kept breaking down. The aliens didn't know how to fix them. These machines had been designed and maintained by humans for decades. Sung Min spoke quietly into his hidden recorder. Day 84. Production down by 60%. Repairs failing. Estimate total shutdown in 2 weeks. He was not the only watcher. All across the galaxy, humans in disguise observed as the first tremors of their absence began to shake the Council worlds. In a vast space station orbiting Earth, Zhu Han studied the reports coming in from watchers like Sung Min. Her job was to track the economic impact of the human withdrawal. Mining output is falling in all major sectors, she told Admiral Kim during their weekly meeting. Manufacturing is down 30%. Transportation systems are starting to fail. Jung Kim nodded. As expected. Zhu pointed to her screen. The Council's biggest problem is replacement parts. Humans designed and built key components for almost everything. Without those parts, systems are failing. And our factories? Asked Jun. Working at full capacity. We're building our own infrastructure now. Everything we need, we can make ourselves. Admiral Kim looked thoughtful. And the messages from Council worlds. Zhu sighed, growing more desperate every day. They want our engineers back. They're offering better terms, more respect. Too late, Jun said simply. On the Council capital, panic was setting in. The Grand Council chamber was filled with angry voices. My planet's atmosphere processors are failing, shouted the Trazarian delegate. Without human technicians, we cannot fix them. My people cannot breathe without those machines. The main transport hubs in 3 sectors are down, added another delegate. Trade has stopped completely in those areas. Sorlat, the Council speaker, tried to keep order. We have formed emergency response teams. Our best engineers are working on solutions. Your engineers don't understand human technology, shouted someone from the back. The truth was becoming clear. Over 2 centuries, humans had quietly become essential to Council infrastructure. They had built, maintained, and operated critical systems across the galaxy. Now they were gone, and no one knew how to replace them. Sorlet sent another message to Earth. Unlike his earlier demands, this one was almost a plea. The Council requests technical assistance for humanitarian needs. We are willing to discuss new terms for human participation. The message went unanswered. In his small office on Earth, diplomat Tai Yang read the reports of suffering on Council worlds. Some planets were facing food shortages. Others had failing life support systems. We should help them, he said to Ambassador Mina Park. People are suffering. Mina looked troubled. I know, but Admiral Kim and the leadership are clear. We cannot engage yet. The Council must learn how dependent they've become on us. At what cost? Asked Taiyang. How many lives? Mina had no answer. The plan had always included this difficult period. For humanity to be treated as equals, the Council species needed to understand humanity's true value. Outside Mina's window, Earth gleamed in the sunlight. Human ships filled the sky, no longer bound by Council restrictions. New cities were being built, new technologies deployed. Humanity was thriving in its independence. But across the galaxy, the first tremors were turning into quakes. Systems failed. Economies collapsed, and the Council began to realize just how much they had relied on the humans they had treated as children. The chaos was only beginning. The room fell silent as a man walked in. No one recognized him. He was tall with gray hair and calm eyes. He moved with quiet confidence. This is Junho, Admiral Kim said. Few people know his name. Even fewer know his work. Junho nodded to the group. For the past 50 years, I have led a secret project called Network Democracy. It is the real reason we left the Council. On the large screen behind him, a complex diagram appeared. It showed a web of connections linking thousands of points. The Galactic Council was flawed from the beginning. Junho explained in a simple, clear voice. Large species dominated small ones. Old species controlled young ones. Humans were never going to be treated as equals. The people in the room listened carefully. This was not what they had been told before. So we began to design something better, Jun-Ho continued. Not a council where the powerful control the weak, but a network where all species have true representation. Ambassador Mina Park stepped forward. We didn't leave the council just to make a point. We left because we needed to break the old system before we could build a new one. Many people looked shocked. Some looked angry. You let war break out across the galaxy for this? One official asked. Jun-Ho looked sad. We didn't expect things to collapse so quickly. We thought we would have more time to develop our system. Show them the rest, Admiral Kim said quietly. Jun-Ho nodded and changed the display. Now it showed a new type of communication device. This technology allows instant, secure communication across any distance, he explained. We developed it in secret because the Council would never have allowed it. They controlled all communication to maintain their power. He showed more images, new engines for ships, new defense systems, new medical technologies. Everything we created, we designed to be shared, Jun-Ho said. Not controlled by one species or a small group of powerful worlds. True cooperation requires that everyone has access to the same tools. The room was silent again, but now with understanding rather than shock. And you kept this hidden from your own people? Someone finally asked. We had to, Admiral Kim replied. If humans knew the full plan, the Council would have discovered it. They monitored everything we did. Jun-Ho moved to the center of the room. The network democracy is not just technology. It's a new way for species to work together. No single planet or species can control it. All decisions require broad agreement. No more rule by the oldest or strongest. Will other species accept this? General Suho asked. After we caused such chaos. Some already have, Mina said. The smaller species who came to us for help. We shared parts of the plan with them. Jun-Ho nodded. They see the value of a system where they have real power, not just empty council seats. Admiral Kim faced the group. Now we must move faster than planned. We need to end the fighting and offer an alternative to the council. We need to reveal what we've built. And if the major powers reject it? Someone asked. If the Velkorians and Praxians prefer war, then we demonstrate the strength of cooperation, Jun-Ho said simply. Humans and our allies working together will be stronger than any single species fighting alone. As the meeting continued late into the night, plans were made. Ships would be sent to stop the fighting. Diplomats would reach out to all species. The new technologies would be shared openly. The true reason humans left the Council was finally clear, not just to escape unfair treatment, but to create something better for everyone. The question now was whether the rest of the galaxy would give humanity's hidden plan a chance, or if it was already too late. Admiral Jun Kim stood still as stone at the center of the vast Galactic Council chamber. His gray uniform bore the simple blue and white emblem of Earth. The room towered around him, seats rising in circles like a giant bowl. In those seats sat the representatives of over 300 alien species. The council speaker, Sorlat, was talking again. The tall, blue-skinned alien's voice boomed through the chamber. The human colonies have grown too quickly. They ignore our wisdom. They build without permits. They trade without approval. Sorlat's four arms moved in sharp gestures. This cannot continue. We will place oversight committees on all human worlds. These committees will ensure humans follow our rules. Jun did not move. He had heard such talks for years. For 200 years, humans had sat in this chamber. For 200 years, they had been treated like children. In the human section, Ambassador Mina Park watched Jun carefully. Her dark eyes showed no emotion, but her hands were tight in her lap. They had discussed this moment many times. They had hoped it would not come. Additionally, Sorlat continued, human ships will now carry council observers. All new human technology must be submitted for review before use. A small light blinked on Mina's wrist device. A message from Earth's government. Enough. Minna nodded once at June. It was time. Admiral Jum Kim took 3 steps forward. The chamber grew quiet. Humans rarely spoke in council meetings anymore. The people of Earth and her colonies have listened to the council for 2 centuries, Jum said. His voice was calm, but carried to every corner of the room. We joined in friendship. We stayed in hope. That hope is now gone. Confused murmurs spread through the alien representatives. Humanity hereby withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. The chamber erupted in noise. Some aliens jumped to their feet. Others buzzed or clicked in their native languages. Sorlet's blue skin turned almost white. You cannot withdraw. Sorlet shouted. No species has ever left the council. Then we will be the first, Jun replied. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small metal object. It was the ancient ceremonial key given to Earth when they joined the council. Each member species had one. None had ever been returned. June placed the key on the small platform before him. The metal made a clear ringing sound in the sudden silence. In the human section, all 50 representatives stood as one. They had known this was coming. Orders had been sent weeks ago. Human ships were already moving. Human colonies were already preparing. This is a childish display, said the representative of the Velcorian Empire, a longtime critic of humans. You will return in a month when you realize you need the council. Mina Park walked down to stand beside June. We will not return, she said simply. Humanity has been planning this day for 50 years. We do not need the council. We have discovered that perhaps the council needs us. Ridiculous. Sorlat sputtered. The council has existed for 1,000 years before humans crawled out of their caves. And yet, Jum said, in just 200 years, you have become dependent on us. On our ideas, on our work, on our willingness to go places others will not. The human representatives filed out of their section, walking calmly toward the great doors. You will regret this. Sorlat called after them. At the door, Jum paused and looked back at the chamber. No, he said quietly, you will. The doors closed behind the humans with a final, heavy sound. In orbit above the council world, 200 human ships activated their engines and disappeared into the darkness of space, headed home. The breaking point had come, and now everything would change. 3 days after the council meeting, the human withdrawal was in full motion. No announcements were made. No grand speeches given. Humans simply began to disappear from the galaxy. Lieutenant Hannah Lee stood on the bridge of her small ship, the Pathfinder. Her orders were clear. Make sure no humans were left behind. Her screen showed the status of Outpost Sigma, a small human research station on the edge of Praxian space. All personnel accounted for, Lieutenant, said her second officer. The last transport is leaving now. Hannah nodded. Good. Once they clear the atmosphere, send the shutdown code. This was the 4th outpost they had closed this week. Each time, they took everything of value and wiped all systems before leaving. They would leave nothing for the council to study or use. Transport clear, Lieutenant. Send the code. On the planet below, the lights of the human outpost winked out. In 6 hours, the backup systems would fail too. By tomorrow, it would be an empty shell. Next stop is Mining Colony Delta, Hannah said. Let's move. The Pathfinder disappeared into jump space, leaving no trace behind. In a hidden facility beneath Seoul on Earth, engineer Da-Yoon worked with his team day and night. The walls were covered with diagrams and plans. Machines hummed as they built parts for new systems. How soon can we deploy the gravity stabilizers? Asked the supervisor. Da wiped sweat from his forehead. 2 weeks for the first batch. We've been developing them in secret for years, but mass production is different. The gravity stabilizers were just one of many technologies humans had created but never shared with the Council. The alien leaders would have called such technology too dangerous or too advanced for humans to control. Admiral Kim needs them sooner, the supervisor said. Day nodded. We'll work faster. The automated factories are coming online tonight. All across Earth, hidden facilities were activating. Technologies long kept secret were now being built openly. Humanity had prepared for this day for decades. On the Council Capital World, Ambassador Mina Park supervised the closure of the human embassy. Staff packed important documents and destroyed others. A message chimed on her secure terminal. It was from Thorlat, the council speaker. Ambassador, this foolishness has gone on long enough. The council demands humans return to their seats immediately. Mina smiled slightly. Just a week ago, such a message would have sent human leaders scrambling to comply. Now, it meant nothing. She typed a simple reply. The decision is final. Her assistant approached. The last diplomatic ships are ready, Ambassador. We should leave within the hour. Mina looked around the embassy one last time. For 200 years, humans had worked here, hoping to be treated as equals. That hope was now gone. Lock the doors when we leave, she said. We won't be coming back. Across the galaxy, alien merchants watched in confusion as human trade ships failed to arrive. Space stations waited for human technicians who never showed up. Council species began to notice the empty human seats in meeting halls and workplaces. They'll be back, a Valkorian trade minister told his staff. Humans cannot survive without council support. They are too young, too undeveloped. But as days turned into weeks, the empty spaces remained. Human outposts went dark. Human colonies stopped responding to messages. The trade routes humans once traveled became quiet. Admiral Jun Kim watched the reports from his command center on Earth. Everything was proceeding according to plan. In the main display, thousands of human ships were shown returning to Earth space, forming the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. Phase 1 complete, his officer reported. All known human assets have been recovered. Jun nodded. Begin Phase 2. The silent departure was over. Now, the galaxy would begin to feel what humanity's absence truly meant.